I
Otra vez.
Freddy, I wanted to start by pointing out that you're wearing some really clean Timbs.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, these Timbs are
Yes.
are the right amount of urban. You know?
Yeah. The last show I did, I wore a suit, but I used to wear Tim's whenever you wouldn't see my feet on screen.
Bro, I don't know how you do it, bro, because
Yeah.
I can't do this long term, bro. Theirs are heavy and they don't even bend, bro.
You know, growing up in Chicago and having these since I was in high school, you just get used to them. Your feet gets used to them. My wife, you know what my wife says? You still dress exactly like you did in high school. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden I'm getting Tim's. I'm like, damn, she's right.
Do you have different color ones?
I have a pair of brown but the classic.
Yeah.
Butters.
I mean, there's like every
The
color.
butters.
Yeah, every color now.
Were you ever a Tim guy?
I gave it a shot,
Yeah.
but people thought I was false advertising. So
They thought, why?
I don't know. I went back to Harley Davidson, biker boots and Lee jeans, and
So if you're from Venezuela, you're not allowed to have Tim's on?
I just don't. I don't think that at the time that I grew up there, they had ever made the cross around the pond. You know what I mean? Like, but I love the Timbs. It's like I do have Timbs right now. So whenever I feel a little hip hop,
Yeah, a little hip hop.
I put my Timbs on. What are we sipping on right now?
Little cafecito here,
Little
right?
cafecito.
Thank you
And
very
that might
much.
change.
Salud.
That might change.
Oh,
I want to
really?
welcome everybody to Those Amigos. I am Wilmer Valderrama.
I am Freddy Rodriguez.
And today we have an interesting episode as we get into topical things, for us Latinos, we like celebrating life, and when it comes to celebrating life, we get quite a run at it. We get a lot of, a lot of moments to celebrate life and living and what we love about life. Were you someone did you go out a lot when you were young?
I had children at a very early age, so maybe not as much as a lot of the people from our generation did. But I went out here and there.
Oh yeah,
when I first
you
got
made
here
me
in
out
the
a few
90s.
times. You made me out a few times.
Yes, I did.
This is a great opportunity to introduce my friend Josh Suchan.
Josh was good.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
Everything is good.
Everything is good when
Yes.
Josh is in the building.
Yes.
It really is good. Josh has been someone who had taught me so much about liquor and about drinks and appreciating the craftsmanship of drinks. At the beginning when we started, our celebrating life careers, we technically didn't really, whatever it was, we would drink it, and,
down shots.
Yes, it was what it was. But as I got older, I started realizing the craftsmanship, the history, the legacy of these alcohols, and the history it was attached to. So when I met Josh, Josh actually came and did a whole class, like a drink making class,
Really?
A mixologist class for my
Mixologist.
for my lady's birthday one year, and it was the best experience. It was incredible. He's a curator of restaurants and hotels, and the guy makes the most delicious drinks for all the bars and all that. So I not only he's a dear friend of us, but he's helped me celebrate so many special moments of my life.
Yeah.
So he will be our
He's
third
been
amigo
there.
in this episode.
The third
I
amigo,
love it.
Josh.
Yeah. Josh.
Salud.
Salud,
Salud.
Josh. Hey, Josh,
Yeah.
question. So tell us a little bit about your passion and like what led you to your company, and tell us a little bit about your company too.
Well, my background academically is architecture and design, so I started bartending during college to help pay for it. And it was
Yeah.
all nightclub stuff, which was a blast. We're talking about previous life nightclub stuff. And then when I graduated, it was that recession, the financial crisis of 2008-9. So no architecture going on. So I just continued bartending and eventually kind of found my way to the more craftier side, or mixology, or whatever you want to call it these days. And from there, all the creative wheels just started spinning again. You have context, you have history, you have culture, you have all this kind of stuff all combined. It's just that now my platform is in a glass, in a space, kind of curating that kind of experience versus, kind of creating a space in architecture. So it was an interesting transition. I wouldn't say it was like the smoothest initially, but once I kind of got into the feel of it and the rhythm, now it's like the back of my hand, and I love it. Like I'm an everyday learner, and I just like coming up with stuff that is, it's all historically amazingly relevant, but also fun and trendy and new and exciting for new people, you know?
What inspires those drinks, Josh?
It can come from anything, I guess, you know? Any experience that you have, or maybe there's an interesting like flavor affinity that I haven't thought of before. Maybe it's traveling is huge. You know, anytime I'm traveling and checking out new cultures and what they're working with.
When was the last time you were somewhere that inspired a drink?
Greece, probably. Yeah, Greece. Playing with a lot of. They had passion fruit everywhere when I went there. I don't know what it was. Like I don't know if it was like that season or that year, but they had passion fruit everywhere, and that's an ingredient that I love, but never really like dove into that much. And so it was one of those things when I came back, I was like, I'm going to deep dive into passion fruit. So I'm starting to clarify it and carbonate it, and you know, even distilling it, whatever it is, to kind of like turn it into something that is different. A different way to experience it.
You really say you grab an ingredient and you and you evolve that ingredient to service a number of objectives for your creations. Is that how you play with these ingredients until they do what you wanted to do?
If I sink my teeth into something like that, like I will just dissect it until there's nothing left to take apart. Wow. And so it's one of those things that like sometimes I like to keep it classic, tried and true, and just let it be what it is. And sometimes it's like, well, what can it be? And you just let your imagination run wild. Yeah.
No, I mean, and I'm a believer. Josh comes in and he preaches that a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little smoky this, and garment that, and
like,
all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's effortless. But
why not?
He took me to a different dimension.
Yeah. No, I love sort of the artistic angle that you have behind
it. For sure.
Yeah. Instead of like an average, and there's nothing wrong with that, like an average bartender. I mean, you
100%.
You sort of take it to a next level.
And I think that's what's cool about the industry, like you can take it as far as you want to. And maybe that's with every industry, but especially a creative industry. You as a bartender, you can pour shots and beer and be happy the rest of your life, and that's totally fine.
Right.
Or you can take it to the nth degree, and all of a sudden you find yourself doing the consulting for bars and restaurants and resorts and stuff like that, or whatever it is. So it really is endless.
It's interesting because when you go to a restaurant or a resort, or you go to a hotel in the city, or you go to like a boutique, speakeasy, and you go to the bar and you have a menu.
Right.
Somebody had to be the scientist behind this hero menu. We never think about it because you're like,
scientist.
It's like, okay, this is. It feels like a martini, but with a spin. And you start thinking about who is this individual who comes in here and who's tried so many different types of ingredients and in different configurations to kind of achieve what the tastemaker that's creating the environment for that bar. That individual who's saying that this bar needs to feel a little bit smoky, feels a little bit of this, and then he has to translate all these ingredients, the decor, the music that's played there, and translate it into an experience on that glass. I mean, did I nail that, or did I nail that?
You're not wrong at all. It's basically a piece that becomes more than the sum of its parts when it's all put together. It is, and oftentimes the beverage program or the cocktail program, whatever it is, can be overlooked, and people either feel it consciously or subconsciously. But when it all comes together at that same quality level, like that's when people are just kind of like, whether they know it or not, they leave feeling that thing that you want them to leave with.
So what's the most common drink from every restaurant? Or like let's think restaurant first. So I'm curating a restaurant's bar. What is the most common drink that the manager wants on that menu?
I mean, it kind of depends place to place, but I would say, especially in Southern California, the margarita. And we're going to be warming up with the margarita variation today.
Are we? Ay, qué rico. What a surprise. I was not expecting this today.
Tequila here.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, I would say the margarita is just like probably the most popular cocktail in the world. And so, especially in Southern California, we do love our agave spirit. So making sure you take that and you just bat it out of the park. Even if it's just a classic margarita, just like making sure you have that dialed in.
What's the most creative margarita you've ever created?
A version of what I'm going to be doing right here. So basically what I am doing is taking, I kind of make a lime acid solution by making like a lime oil tea. And then that way it's perfectly crystal clear when I'm serving it with the drink. And I'm topping it with like a Grand Marnier aloe foam, because I feel like the Cadillac Margarita, like everyone orders a Cadillac Margarita, everyone knows what it is, right? But at the same time, that drink just gets messed up so many places that you go, because there's no like standardized recipe for it necessarily. And so you might order a Cadillac Margarita at 5 different places and you're gonna get 5 different Cadillac Margaritas. So like what I'm trying to do with this is take something that we all think we know and love or hate, I don't know, and then turning it into something that is genuinely special and worth that premium price point, worth that premium experience, all that kind of stuff.
If a bartender were to ask you for the best advice you could give him to make a consistently good margarita, what would you say one is the most common mistake that bartenders make, meaning like a little bit too much of that or a little bit too little of that? And what would be the one thing that you feel like they could walk away from this conversation and say, "Oh man, like yes, my margarita game is gonna go up 2 levels."
I would say the biggest mistake is, and something we're gonna hate this answer, but not measuring what you're putting in there. Okay,
right.
Like
Makes
when
sense.
you're working with a multi-component recipe, you kind of got to pay attention to what those ratios are. And like some people can do it by counting, some people can't, some people use jiggers, some people don't, whatever it is. But as long as you know your measurements are on point, that's going to get you so much closer to the finish line that you want to be at.
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, if you really want to up your cocktail game, like a really good way to think about how to make a great cocktail is understanding like having the quality of ingredients, the quality of your recipe, like make sure your sources are right. Because I mean, the internet is full of misinformation, including in the bar industry and stuff like that. So quality of the recipe, quality of the ingredients, and then probably the biggest thing, and this is why I do a lot of consulting, is the quality of the technique. You know, not all ice is created equal. Shaking different ways will produce different results, like all this kind of stuff. So it's all those little nuances. So when you're able to kind of, if you feel like dissecting it to that level, go for it. You're just going to end up with a better product and like surprise yourself every single time.
But you have, obviously. I mean, are you actually there testing shakes out to see which shake develops what?
1,000%. Yeah.
No
and there's
way,
books
man.
on it from people smarter than I in the industry and stuff like that. So it's one of those things, like I say, is if I never thought I would geek out so hard on anything like this in my life, but if I'm going to geek out on something, it's booze and it's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that, by the way, nobody's ever put it that simple. You know, it's like, hey man, just know where your sources are. The quality of your ingredients are going to dictate the outcome of this drink, right? In many ways. Is your favorite margarita an añejo base or a blanco base?
Blanco.
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 So much easier to drink, right?
Yeah, it's also it's just got it's tequila in its natural state. It's got those vegetal notes. It just plays so well. Like you really do taste, you know, the origin of the product kind of thing. As soon as you start barrel aging it, I love it for different reasons, but for my margarita, definitely a blanco.
Yeah, so when people, I always think it's so unique when people use like, just because they want the most expensive shot in the margarita, they'll ask for like an añejo, and it's such a crime. It's such a crime to drop a shot of a really good añejo inside, you know, water, ice, and I mean, it's like you lose the point of aging it for that long. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't get it in a margarita personally. I think it is kind of a social flex, but don't get me wrong. Some people do love
social flex.
You know, an añejo tequila in their margaritas. It's not my drink. I don't care. Go for it. You know what I mean? Right. But that said, in Los Angeles, I have made $125 margaritas before and rounds of them for people. You know, and
is that what makes it expensive? Is it the tequila?
It's the tequila. You're getting that limited release edition from a distillery that aren't going to produce any more of that thing, and they're having a business meeting and boom, just lay them out there. So I mean, they're still getting a great product for all the reasons we talked about, quality of ingredients, technique, etc. But
but you're saying a tequila like that is more meant to be sipped as opposed to using it as a mixer or shooting it back, right? In order to enjoy the taste and the process, and
I would say with like anything that you're trying to really kind of sit back and taste the quality of the product and its origins and the history and all that kind of stuff. Sipping it is going to give you a bit more of an opportunity to appreciate it like that. That said, I love taking shots, back in the day, and I love taking tequila shots, So it's, I guess to each their own, but in my advanced years here, sipping is the way to go.
What's the worst hangover you've ever had?
Oh,
man?
jeez.
What were you drinking? The absolute worst hangover you ever had?
Because of what I do for a living, I've probably had a few hangovers that have knocked years of my life off.
You lost a couple of dog years.
Yeah, exactly. I would say usually my worst hangovers are the ones where I'm, at some sort of event where, you're just kind of drinking what you're giving and it's an open bar kind of situation.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Weddings, great example.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God. The wine
Everyone's
glass-
happy. Everyone wants the bartender to drink with them, right?
Yeah, or even if I'm just a guest at the wedding, it's like, oh, how many glasses of wine did you have? Oh, I don't know, because the glass was never empty. Like they just keep coming around. So kind of the same thing with the open bar situation.
It's like
just
the Golden
oh my
Globes.
goodness, like those are. I can't pinpoint a specific one because trust me, there's been a handful where you just want to fast forward. Right?
Just delete that night.
Yeah, exactly.
So what? I don't know. I'll tell you this. A couple of things that I have a tough time sometimes with is sake.
Oh, yeah?
Destroys me the next day.
Really? Sake?
That's why I just don't drink. I mean, look.
Sake in a Sapporo?
In all transparency, I don't drink, often at all anymore, right? I used to celebrate and have drinks, at dinner and all that stuff. Now it's all about like, what is the purest form of H2O that I can find at a place, But yeah, back in the day, I would go to these amazing sushi restaurants, and then they would want to pair this sake with the courses, right?
Yeah.
They do these 4, 5, 6 course meals, and then they paired the sake with it, and man,
Just doesn't agree with you.
no, it doesn't agree with me. In champagne, for some reason, champagne I can't.
Oh,
do champagne.
cheap champagne. Yeah, cheap champagne. Oh, oof.
Yeah, it'll destroy you.
Yeah.
So this tequila, this margarita you're making today. What do you have a name for it?
Not really. It kind of goes by a couple different names because I'll have like variations of it in different places. But basically, I call it the Pimped Out Cadillac Margarita. You ever see Pimp My Ride with that exhibit back in the day? You take those beaters and turn it into these lowriders and stuff. It's kind of what I'm doing. I'm taking the Cadillac and I'm pimping it out.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, man. There's no Boone's Farm, is it, right? Or,
No, we're doing a little bit better.
or Mad Dog 2020 or Thunderbird.
Okay, that was one of the hangovers. Like now that and you guys reminded me when I was living in South Korea teaching English, soju. Like it was cheaper than water over there.
I just want to make it internationally known that he just. First of all, shout out to my daughter running up in the roof of our podcast, as she always makes an appearance on these episodes.
The fourth amigo.
She is the fourth little amiguita. But small flex, you used to teach English in South Korea.
I sure did, man. Yeah, actually, my wife now was my girlfriend at the time, and we were both just not in love with what we were doing in Portland, Oregon. We were like, we want as big a change as possible, right? And so we packed up, went to South Korea for a year, taught English, and just, loved it.
Why Korea? Why'd you choose?
Like I said, we wanted something that was so different, like not a Romanized language that we could pick up on terribly quickly, like really kind of pushed ourselves outside of our comfort zones, because we really felt like Portland was just too comfortable for us at the time. We were craving more adventure. And it definitely shook things up, and we loved it. Had a blast exploring Seoul while we were there. And but we would, we were actually in this town outside of Seoul, about 45 minutes, and we'd take the metro in, and every weekend to go to the nightlife. We were like 25 years old,
Oh my God, I love it.
So like 25 years old on a teacher's budget, saving money over there. We're getting 6 packs of, the 16-ounce bottles of soju for like less than $6. And so you're just playing drinking games with that. And I swear the next day, like, there was no cure. There was no cure.
Really?
No, you have to let it.
It wrecked you that way, huh?
It broke me like that. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What is soju exactly? I'm not
It's
sure
a
what it
rice
is.
distillate.
Okay.
Predominantly, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And there's
so
different
it's similar to
brands.
sake then.
Yeah.
Right?
So sake is a wine is brewed, yeah.
Sorry, one more time. What's the difference between sake and soju?
So basically, sake is brewed like a wine or a beer, essentially, and then to take it to that distilled kind of soju level, you would actually run it through a still, right? And so it becomes higher proof. Similar to how, like, if you take a beer and you distill it, you get whiskey. Or you take wine and you distill it, you get a brandy. Same dealio.
Right.
Wow, muy interesante.
And are there different qualities of soju?
For sure.
Like
I'm not
tequila,
knocking
like-
soju as a whole. I'm just knocking myself for buying the cheapest stuff on the planet.
The 25-year-old
not
soju.
learning.
Yeah.
When in all your travels around the world, where when you're working, whether you're shooting movies or TV shows, or you're just out there promoting internationally, is there a restaurant that you went to that you remember having a drink and you're like, wow, all of these elements are coming together, creating an unforgettable memory?
Man, I wish I could remember the name of this restaurant. I was in Mexico City, and I figured, well, if I'm in Mexico City, I want to try some of the mezcal. And we asked the waiter to bring some mezcal, and I was like, what's the best mezcal you have? And I kid you not, the guy came with a bottle, and it was dusty, and the name of the mezcal was like written by hand on there.
Wow.
And he came with like a platter full of orange slices and different and a variety of salt. And I'd never had mezcal that way, and it was the absolute best mezcal I ever had in my life. Mexico City.
That's amazing.
What about you?
For me, let me see. Wow, thank you so much.
But what do we have here, sir?
So like I say, this is our crystal clear Cadillac Margarita, and then we have that Grand Marnier aloe foam floating over the top, so you kind of still get that Grand Marnier float.
Look at how beautiful this margarita
that's a work
looks.
of art, man.
Look at this thing.
Salud.
Salud,
Cheers,
señor.
y'all.
Salud,
Enjoy.
salud.
Enjoy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Look at this thing. This doesn't even...
Salud, papo.
Salud. Tu familia,
Familia,
siempre con
man.
Dios.
Absolutely.
This is, just for those who are listening to this episode, would you mind describing what you're seeing?
Whew. Let's see here. There's some foam. There is a piece of lime. Is that
Correct, yeah,
correct?
dehydrated lime.
On the top, and it looks pretty clear on the bottom. That's quite delicious. I just had a
And
little
is that
sip.
one cube?
Yep, 1 cube inside of there.
Oh, that's great. I love the one cube for an amount of reasons. All right, well, cheers.
Salud.
Let's see what this is.
Let's check it
What
out.
this conversation turns into.
three or four of these. Oh man, wow. Coming off of dry January.
Yes. Yes, quite literally. Dry what?
Yeah, dry. What we're in
Yeah,
February.
I know. We just got some rain. In California. Yeah. So
What about you, Wilmer? Have you been incredibly impressed by a drink you've had at a certain city, at a certain restaurant?
yeah. So I went to Japan.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and Japan, Tokyo is my probably top 2 favorite cities
Really?
in the world. It's a place that I love so much. It's a place that reminds me so much of some of the most precious moments of my life. That's when Amanda and I said I love you to each other for the first time.
In Tokyo.
In Tokyo.
Wow.
And that's when Nakano became a possibility. That's when we said to each other that a family is what we wanted with each other. So we went to this one restaurant that looked like a James Bond restaurant. The door just opened up. It was carved out of stone. You know, you went downstairs and it was this underground restaurant.
Yeah.
12-course meal. Halfway through, she accidentally says, I love you. And I said, it's all good. No worries, no worries.
What do you mean accidentally? What does
She's
that
like,
mean?
well, we used to make the best bite. Like we grab a fork and put a little bit of everything on our plate
Yeah.
and give that best bite for the, to me or to her. And she said, I love you because and she froze. She's like, and I was like,
slipped.
and then she's like, I just what I meant. I was like, no, it's all good. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I you have nothing to worry about because I love you too. And it was this moment when she was like, and I was like we can't get back. We can take it back now. And,
How long were you dating?
We were
up to that
dating
point?
for, I think at this point we're probably 8 months in.
8
or
months,
something like
yeah.
that. And we had just been traveling everywhere. And we went and took, a bunch of our dear friends and to Japan and experienced this beautiful thing there. Anyways, my point is that they had me taste this Japanese whiskey. And there was something about the Japanese whiskey that just took me to a different place.
Oh, yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just different, and you can taste almost heritage. You
Yeah.
can taste the wood. You can taste, you can take so many things that this liquor multi-generationally just has become, and the way they do it. It takes 30 plus years just to get one of the batches. Like some of this whiskeys really, really takes a long time. To achieve, and it just changed my life.
That makes sense, because when we first started hanging, you were really heavy on Japanese whiskey.
Yeah.
I've had it before, but the first time I really ever had it was with you. You introduced me to it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's incredibly smooth and cool, but it has such a deeper meaning for you and your family. That's
For
cool.
sure.
Yeah.
I also think that the way the Asian culture cultivates their liquor,
Yeah.
and what that liquor is supposed to represent, and what it does, the way it tastes makes the experience, and where you're partaking, whether it's a dinner or a celebration, and this whiskey is just a different level. And you can feel it. You can feel it that it took hundreds of years to get this whiskey to where it is.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really appreciate and really love very much. So that was my.
Nice.
What about you, Josh? You like Japanese whiskey?
I do. Yeah, I do.
What's your favorite?
I really like the hibikis. You've probably seen this, like a very, oh gosh, like the bottle looks
Do I have
almost like
anything
a
like
collar
there?
or something.
Do I have
I'm not
one
sure.
there?
No.
Toki?
But,
okay.
But no, yeah, that line
Toki.
was really good. Centauri House is really good.
Centauri time.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I like all of them. It's one of those things. It's getting increasingly hard to get.
Really?
But it's also well worth it for those celebratory reasons, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, and you're only allowed to buy one bottle sometimes, right? And if you're gonna bring one from Japan, you're not allowed to bring more than two, right?
Because
the limited batch,
right,
So,
yeah.
so when you're in Japan, you're only allowed to buy one bottle at a time, and that's because they want as many people to experience this as possible, But it's like even hotels they gotta have different dealers, different brokers, to be able to get their hands on some of these bottles, because they're just really hard to find.
Are you a wine guy at all? Do you like wine or champagne or?
I do. I haven't deep dived into it as much, definitely not as much as I have with spirits and cocktails and stuff like that at this point. Mostly because, not mostly because, I don't want to throw her under the bus, but my wife Jessica said somewhere along the lines of, or somewhat along the lines of, if you geek out on wine the way you geeked out on spirits and cocktails, I will not go wine tasting with you. So I was like, okay, fair enough.
Why is that? Why?
Oh, because there was a period where I was just, I think a lot of like serious bartenders at a certain point kind of get in a phase where like when you sit at the bar top, like you're just eagle eyes, like you're watching everything, you're watching all the movements. She wouldn't even let me face the bar at restaurants if we went out to eat. I'd have to face towards the window or
Because
whatever.
you'd be judging it?
You're
Yeah,
like,
because I get distracted,
Too much
we'd be
lime
having
juice.
conversation,
Yeah.
and it turn into like,
Too much.
too heavy on the foam.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're going through like
Too
that
long in the
phase of
smoker.
bartending, right?
Yeah.
And so like, so when she told me that about wine, and wine tasting is our happy place. Like Paso Robles, love Paso Robles.
Oh, cool.
Sonoma, we love in a big way too. Oregon wine country, where we're from. Like Jessica's parents live up there. Love that. And so that was kind of a clear point to me to not geek out. But that said, I kind of have her blessing now to go through the Court of Sommeliers. So I'm going to start working my way through that process.
Yeah.
Now that I'm more mature, I won't get so irritating about it.
Question, Josh. If I were to go to a restaurant or a hotel and I were to ask for this margarita, how much would this margarita be?
That's probably going to be around. It depends on where you go. Anywhere between probably 19 in LA area. Anywhere between 19 and 24 probably.
Right.
19 and 24.
It depends on the spirit that you're putting in there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
What kind of tequila is this in here?
this one's called Real de Valle.
Okay.
It's relative. No, I shouldn't say relatively new to the market anymore, but it's nice. It's 100% agave.
Nice.
And what I mean by that is it's like completely unadulterated, because even 100% agaves can add up to 1% of different additives in there, which is why
Really?
certain tequilas
Yeah.
taste like vanilla.
Yeah,
Things like
talk
that.
a little bit about that, because
Okay.
one of the when Freddie and I went to dinner with Jay that night at Carlitos, we were talking about liquor companies and all these all these incredible companies out there that have showcased their brand in such a level that have become billion dollar empires,
Right.
but at the heels of not so great tequilas that when you really know the craftsmanship of tequila and the purity of its recipe, there is this, there's a compromise when you're mass producing it or you're trying to appeal to most, and the recipe gets morphed into something else. And you said the word vanilla, and I wanted you to take a second to put us to school a little bit on what some of these companies do to mask, right, their
Yeah.
inability to make a good tequila.
Basically, by having those additives, it's just like you're saying, you're trying to appeal to a broader market kind of thing. It also gives them the opportunity to harvest the agaves prematurely a bit, right? Which is going to yield them a inferior, juice essentially that they're then going to distill.
Right.
But it's a faster turnaround for
Exactly.
the batch.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like an agave is going to take like minimum 6 to 8 years to mature, minimum, right?
Right.
So they're trying to get on the lesser end of that time frame and then doctor it up before selling it to the market. And don't get me wrong, like they killed it.
Yeah.
They killed it.
Yeah, I
you're
mean
not
they're
wrong.
they're
Billion-dollar
selling a bottle.
empire.
They're selling a bottle.
Yeah, so it's one of those things like, I guess it's kind of to each their own. I personally look for brands that are unadulterated, and I also kind of, as much as possible, like to know where the money's going. Is it going into the pockets of the investors that are from the United States, or is it going into the pockets of the people and the villages producing it? And even up to like different sustainability efforts, things like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
obviously that is the kind of stuff that the average consumer just doesn't have time to really digest. And I get it. That's totally fine. So yeah, that's just what I look for.
No, it's so important you say that, because most people are so like, oh man, I love, and we're not gonna bash any bottles right now,
yeah.
but I can tell you one of the bottles or two of the bottles that are the most exciting to buy, because of either lineage or name or whatever. They've changed distilleries, and therefore they're trying to mass produce, because now they're distributing so much worldwide,
Right.
that you need more. You're talking about Mexico has to import tequila for the planet.
Yeah.
For the planet. So at
wild.
some point,
Yeah.
it's gonna have to be mass produced. And
Yeah.
some of these big brands, which look really fancy on a bar, have to mask their inability for it to, be aged enough that eventually ferments the way that it's supposed to. But but I think that you talked about the vanilla extract. Like sometimes people put a little vanilla, and you're like, oh, it has like this tones of chocolate and vanilla finish, and you think that like, oh, that's what a tequila is supposed to taste like, right? Like, oh, cool, it's like sweet and so smooth. And really, what it is it's like vanilla. It's just that, you put in a little sugar in it, so
Right.
so
Little
it goes down
flavoring
easier.
or
You know what I
whatever.
mean?
Yeah.
And look, it doesn't say maybe the tequila is not drinkable. I'm saying it's fine. You're drinking it and you're loving it, and that's what it is. But when we go down to a conversation of a sipper,
Yeah.
of something where you're investing into not just the quality, the heritage, like Josh pointed out so eloquently, most importantly, what you get in return for the investment of that shot.
Yeah.
And you talk about sometimes they'll sell you a shot of tequila for $75 or $85 or
Right.
$95. And it's the tequila I'm talking about.
Right.
It's the tequila that's like not, it's like not, not an añejo that you're like, okay, well, this tastes really sweet.
And that's the stuff that gives you the hangovers, right?
In many ways.
As the additives and all that.
Right.
I would say, yeah, that can definitely play a role for sure. Just kind of the hand of the producer, how much care and craft are they putting into it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is about like the heritage, especially in a spirit that's like so special, like mezcal, tequila, Bacanora, Raicilla, Total, all those
Yeah.
things down there.
Are you more of a spirit guy as opposed to a wine or champagne? Or
Yeah,
what's
I'd say so. I'd say so. I mean, I can appreciate a great wine. Like when I went to and I shot this movie called A Sudden Case of Christmas with Danny DeVito
on Hulu.
on Hulu, available for everybody right now. It was a beautiful summer Christmas movie with Danny DeVito and Lucy DeVito and Antonella, who plays my daughter. She's incredible. Annie McDowell and a bunch of amazing people, and Peter, who directed the movie Serendipity.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
And I like highly recommend it.
Where'd you shoot it?
We shot it up in the Dolomites in northern Italy.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were shooting up in the Rockies and the mountains of and it was just so special, But anyways, being in Italy for 2 months, you got to really understand how you accessorize your pasta, and that is with a good wine.
It's part of the
the olive oil,
routine,
it was just a beautiful. And by the way, the Italian culture is.
Oh yeah.
It's the closest to Latinos that I could ever imagine.
Really?
They're just family number one.
Yeah.
Sharing a meal number two, and number three I'd say number three is number one. Celebrating life. Like yes, be happy that we're doing this, and and it was really beautiful. Every lunch that we had in this movie, every time that we had a lunch, it was what you expected: olive oil, bread. Pastas, soups.
Bro, I could live off that,
it was just like a beautiful, beautiful spread, and therefore, so I think that I really got to really appreciate wine when I went to Florence and Tuscany, and I,
super Tuscans you were having.
And I went to two places where they were like a family owned, that you, in order to get these bottles, you have to buy them from them, because it's not distributed anywhere, and I really got to appreciate how beautiful the tradition of wine is, and I really got to appreciate it. And great wine, you wake up the next morning, it's fine, right?
Yeah, I've done 2 wine movies, man, so I got to spend a lot of time in.
What were those movies?
A Walk in the Clouds, my first movie, was a wine movie, and I did a movie called Bottle Shock with me, Alan Rickman, Chris Pine, Bill Pullman, and we drank a lot of wine. Research.
Of course. You have to understand what face to make when they say action,
Yeah, exactly. But man, I went to a lot of those different places, a lot of the different little family-owned wineries. It's funny, man. There's a lot of producers who have retired and have started wineries out there. As a matter of fact, the producer you and I both worked with, Daryl Frank. His father owns, I think, Frank Family Wine out there.
Yes, you're right. Man. I just remember. Yes.
I never.
By the way, shout out to Daryl Frank.
Shout out to Daryl.
Really dear friend of ours. we should take him to dinner.
And
we
Falvey,
should
Falvey.
Yes, just.
Falvey over at Amblin.
All these guys, they run Amblin Television for Steven Spielberg. They are incredible curators. They're just amazing people.
Yeah.
They really love
Great
what they do.
beings,
And, they empower me in so many ways. They were just really amazing friends of mine. And we always check in. I haven't been able to work with them in a while because I'm locked up over there, But I love those guys.
Yeah. His pop has a winery. The guy who wrote A Walk in the Clouds created Karate Kid. Karate Kid is his story. And he owns a winery called Cayman Wineries out there. But I got to taste some of the most amazing, prior to that movie, like I never knew what the big deal was.
Right.
You'd go someplace to a party, a wedding, somebody serves you a glass of wine. You're like, well, I don't
cool. It makes me sleepy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But when you go there and like your experience in Italy and they start to pair the wines with the food and it was the most amazing experience I ever had.
And that's what it is. It's an experience, right? Which comes full circle to kind of what today's episode was about, kind of thinking about the experiences we've had in celebrating life, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's on vacation, whether it's at a nightclub or a bar or a speakeasy.
Yeah.
All these little holes in the walls, they taught you something about the culture through the story of their liqueurs that, that have been passed down for hundreds of years. I mean, this kind of stuff is what it's really special to me, and I've always flirted with the idea should I launch a company that he says something that I can pass down to my family? You know, should I launch a like our company? But there's so many, you know, people launching tequilas and things like that. They just kind of turn me off from it, you know. And at some point I was like, maybe I'll go to Japan.
Japanese whiskey.
And maybe I'll try to see Japanese whiskey. But even that, you know, felt a little much of a heavy lift. But who knows? Who knows? If everybody, you know, wants to, you know, if everybody wants to support that, you know, let me know. Maybe I'll just reconsider, you know.
It's your passion, man. You love it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
like
appreciate
wine
it.
or whatever you get into, you have to love it, right?
I support it.
Me too.
Yeah. So let me see. What other questions do you have for Josh?
What's the name of your company?
Oh, my company is called Ice and Alchemy.
Ice and Alchemy.
Ice and
Wow,
Alchemy.
that's a great name.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
what is it? What does your company do exactly?
So the company, it basically started off quietly in Los Angeles, just helping places establish better menus and training for their bar programs. When I moved down to LA, you know, LA is such a big city geographically, and so many restaurants and bars want to be doing it right, but they just didn't quite know maybe how to get there. And I just happened to have you know, the right amount of experience and ambition and all that kind of stuff that people were taking notice of what I was doing. And now it's a full-fledged bar consulting firm where I do predominantly Southern California, but other states as well. And, you know, there's some international proposals out there right now too.
You know, are there ever times that you go in a restaurant and you look at the menu, and there are times that I'm super impressed by it, by the drinks that they have on there. I can tell it's been, you know, well thought out. It isn't just like somebody throwing drinks on the menu.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of the behind the scenes of what happens. Huh?
Yeah,
So someone
very
comes
much
in
so.
and it's almost like a good director or somebody, right? Like coming in and implementing their vision.
Yeah.
100%.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Kind of
What's
turning
the-
it from concept to reality.
Yeah.
I guess my last question in the mixology universe is, when Josh goes to a restaurant
Okay.
and he's ordering his food and they said, "Can I get you a drink?"
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What do you
What's
order?
that?
I usually jump for a classic simple drink first. And what I mean by simple is like 3 ingredients. You're talking your old fashions, your Manhattans, your daiquiri.
Yeah.
You know, something like, and the reason is this: there's nothing to hide behind, right? Like if you mess up one of those ratios or one of those ingredients or choose the wrong, you know, spirit or whatever it is, it's gonna show right away. Versus if I ask for like a 12 ingredient tiki drink and you kind of mess it up a little bit, it's like, it's still gonna pass.
Right.
So
Right.
I get a really simple drink and I, you know, just want to make sure it's on point. And then from there, once I sip that drink, that tells me, okay, this is a place where I do get a cocktail, or maybe it's a place where I get a glass of wine, you know, and or maybe it's a place, maybe it's a shot in a beer place, whatever it is, you know. And
It's a defense mechanism. I
Yeah.
see.
it's a caution.
Oh,
filter.
I see.
Yeah. It's interesting. So you're an old fashioned man. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funny you say that. My wife lately has been ordering drinks, and she's like, "Wow, they're just too strong."
what do you mean lately? Please elaborate on lately.
No, just the last couple of times we've gone to a restaurant, they've made her drinks really freaking strong.
Interesting.
And on one hand, you're like, "Hey, thank you. I'm grateful that you gave me a good pour."
It's because
right?
she's a confident-looking woman.
I
Yes.
agree. I agree. But yeah, they've been super. So, you know, to your what you were explaining about the ratios being off, it almost just seems like they're just like that. Put a bunch of alcohol in it. She'll be happy with it.
What about you? You go to a restaurant. And say,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. What do you want to eat? You know, you look in the menu. You know, can I get you a drink?
I'm a wine guy, man. First
Okay.
and foremost, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I
Alright.
think maybe because like you know doing these wine movies since I was like 19, and I've learned so much about
So you're
it.
better than me. That's what you're saying.
No,
So you're saying you're better than me.
no,
Oh, that's great. That's
No,
great. You know, those
I-
amigos quickly became one amigo over here.
no, not at all.
Okay, so you're better than me.
I just
finally
became,
came down to this. Huh?
No, man. I just became accustomed to it, you know, and,
Yeah.
and the pairing aspect. But
Sure.
I used to be like I used to be like a heavy cab guy.
I was about to ask you what
Heavy.
cab,
Oh, remember
you know.
we had that cab that night at your when you had that wonderful dinner at your house with that great chef, by the way.
Yeah,
Carlos.
Carlos.
Carlos, yeah, man.
Great dude.
But lately I've been lately I've been just chilling out. Period. But if I do like a good Pinot Noir, man, just something lighter. You know, I've
That's good.
just been going a little lighter. What about you?
I'm a martini guy.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I pay attention when I order a martini. Because I order it a little dirty with 3 olives.
Wait, a gin or vodka?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Like if I'm gonna do, this doesn't. What I'm about to say doesn't have to make sense to anyone else, but somehow it makes sense to me. If I'm gonna have a steak,
Yeah.
I'll do a vodka.
Okay.
If I'm gonna do a fish, I do a gin.
You do gin, right?
I mean, and honestly, I know what I'm gonna get when I go to these restaurants. Like I'm feeling like a steak tonight, you know.
Right.
But I pay attention to a couple of things. You want to make sure, like, you know, they shake it, you know, but like, you know, they don't overshake it where they're just serving you the water. You're trying to have them cool down the liquor, you know, and it has to be to the rim. My biggest pet peeve with a martini is when they bring you a martini. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, when the glass size
And they get
bigger
cheap.
than the portion.
And it's like a quarter of an inch down. Like
Yeah.
a martini is supposed to be like a piece of glass, like a piece of ice. You
Right.
know,
Right.
in my opinion, but I love to hear Josh's opinion about how a martini is supposed to be served. But to me, a martini is supposed to, like, somebody should be able to say the proportions of what I'm using, ice versus, you know, the vodka.
Yeah.
Versus the dirty, like whatever it's shaken,
Yeah.
the last drop should stay
Should
should
be.
like end it at the rim.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But a good
frustrating.
martini is like the bartender is looking at you, is talking to you, he's shaking your martini, and the last drop drops, and when you look at that glass, it's literally perfectly aligned to the rim.
Yeah.
That's
do
that's
you
the
feel
image.
cheated if it doesn't?
I just
reach...
not cheated because the liquor's in there, but I do feel like I know where I'm at now.
So that's your barometer.
Yeah,
as
just
to
like he
how
has, like,
good-
I'm gonna get something simple and see what kind of place I'm at and what am I gonna
Yeah.
trust. I know where I'm at.
That's
now.
your barometer.
go.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and you know I got that a lot from, believe it or not, growing up and watching James Bond drink those martinis, and
Yeah.
I didn't understand the martini game until way later in my life when I realized how special it is to start your evening with a martini. You know,
Yeah.
it's so clean and also light that it allows you to still enjoy your dinner. You know, it's not gonna overpower anything. But yeah, so that to me it's a martini. But I'm a James Bond guy.
Yeah, yeah. I love how James Bond inspired that drink. But then you actually liked it, like you had it. And you're just
Yes,
like,
yes.
yeah,
I mean, martini's great. I mean, would I do an espresso martini? Yeah, if I'm in
yeah,
Cabo and you know, and we've been at the sun all day and it's about 6 p.m. and we're gonna go to dinner and I gotta stay up. Yeah, we'll do a, you know, espresso martini. But
yeah.
yeah, martini is my thing. That's the first thing I order.
I love it. I love it. I could do a good martini too.
Well,
Oh, that's next.
Gonna be here all week.
I want to see
I got that couch.
yeah. Well, Josh, we're so grateful that you spent this time with us
Yeah.
today.
I
And,
appreciate it, guys.
you know,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful to hear the craftsmanship that goes into it. Most importantly, you know, the work, the thought, you know, that goes into the creations that you've made for so many people. And, you know, I think about, you know, the environment that you have created for probably thousands of people in your career, Josh,
Yeah.
that have had unforgettable, beautiful celebrations, not just about life, but special moments in their life. And I count my personal beautiful, memorable moments of my life because you've been there for some of the most beautiful moments of my life. And, you know, some of these moments can only be commemorated when you're there, you know.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful to you and you know, your team also, because they're my family too. Those are my guys as well. But yeah, I'm excited to you know, to see what's next, you know, and
I see a martini in your future.
gracias.
In the near.
Muchas gracias. Yes. Yeah. Well, to everyone who you know, joined our
Indeed.
our evening, our escapade, or afternoon, wherever you're listening or watching from, thank you so much for being with us here. Your show, Dos Amigos with Wilmer Valderrama.
Freddy Rodriguez, and
Josh Suchan.
We'll see you guys on the next episode of Dos Amigos.